Good day, everyone. Welcome to Sound Espressivo, powered by virtual concert halls. We are broadcasting today from Vienna, Virginia. I'm Ouspenskaya, I'm a pianist, and I'll be your host today. Sound Espressivo is a new generation of classical music competition. It offers contestants to perform in live broadcasts, television style, from their own location, anywhere in the world. Sound Espressivo panel of judges represents top performing artists and music educators from around the globe. Sound Espressivo offers an unprecedented array of awards for musicians. Our guests join our programs from their own locations. They bring and share their musical gifts, their expertise, their personalities, their dreams. We present our guests' opinions and we hope that our audience will benefit from hearing different and maybe sometimes conflicting points of view on classical music, music aesthetics, music business, and other topics which we raise throughout our programs. Welcome to our live podcast, Meet the Judges, meet music promoters and managers, and music educators.
No matter where you are or who you are, music connects us all. We started with a dream, but now we are paving the future. Welcome to the Sound Espressivo Global Competition. Fully virtual, yet bringing musicians closer together than ever before, now on a global scale. True live, inclusivity, diversity, connection, community, an extraordinary array of judges. Get noticed by companies all over the world. Prizes, scholarships, performance opportunities. Apply to be a part of the most exciting congregation of artists like nothing you've ever seen before. We guarantee quality and leave no musician behind. We can't wait to hear you on the virtual stage.
For our program today, we invited two distinguished violinists who will be joining us from London and France in a moment. And they are brought to our program by the iClassical Academy. iClassical Academy helps to introduce professional musicians and students alike to the work of some of the most renowned and influential concert artists and music educators through online learning. iClassical also helps artists of the greatest stature reach a broader audience and to discover the potentials of working and connecting through online platform. iClassical Academy offers a fully rounded education curriculum, which is a tremendous source of vetted and proven knowledge and experience. The courses are both academic and practical. They're designed for professional musicians as well as for students, amateurs, and music lovers. The courses are created in close collaboration with some of the most respected and leading professionals in our field. Recently, the company opened their collection of courses as a rounded 360 curriculum, where people can access all of what iClassical accumulated over the years, pretty much like a conservatory or a university offers to their enrolled students. iClassical Academy is a supporter of the Sound Espressivo competition. The company is sponsoring prizes for winning contestants, which are designed to help musicians be better equipped with modern tools and knowledge for progressing towards their artistic goals as students and professional musicians. Let's welcome Gyorgy Pauk, a renowned violinist, educator, tireless supporter of classical music and classical musicians, and you're joining us from London today. Welcome to our program.
Thank you. Very, very happy. Thank you.
It's just an amazing thing to have you join us. You're a legendary violinist, and you're from a legendary generation of concert artists and violinists, and you collaborated with some of the biggest name of the history of music art and some of the most influential musicians of our time. You're a recording artist and you recorded many albums to the greatest acclaim. It's just a tremendous honor to host you on our program today. Thank you for making time and an effort. Um, and let's also welcome Virginie Robilliard, a renowned, very respected violinist. Originally, you're from Switzerland, but today you're joining us from France, right?
Yes, but I'm French.
You are. Where in France are you now?
I am near the border with Switzerland. I am in Tonon, crossing the
This is
lake.
Mhm.
this is wonderful to have you on the program. You're a violinist of a greatest statute, very well known performer and educator. You teach and perform in some of the most respected and some of the most um, renowned schools and summer programs. This is just a greatest opportunity for me to ask a million questions which I prepared. I know we're not going to be able to hear your answers to all of them, but I'll try to ask as many as I can.
Thank you.
And you both are so well known in the music world, so acclaimed and so established musicians, and you're in such a high demand around the world. You, what we call it, you made it in our profession. But today's situation is a devastating circumstance across the board for all who are working in our field in the performing arts and the music education right now. And it's pretty much everywhere in the world. The situation is dire. How do you respond to the current circumstances, which potentially, a lot of people may perceive as the end of the performing arts, at least as we know it? So, Georgie, would like to share your
Well,
thoughts?
I try to be optimistic. I try. The situation is not easy. When it is just now almost 13 years that I gave up my career and quit the stage. And of course, we didn't have this kind of problems. But the last year, or almost a year, has been very, very difficult. And I can imagine, and I know it from my students at the academy, that sometimes it's very difficult to find the motivation to keep on practicing. And they ask always the questions themselves, and for what? What if I'm going to practice now 5 hours a day? What's going to happen with me next year? Will there be concerts at all? And I can only say, and I believe it is true, that there will be concerts. There will be concerts. There has to be. And I'm actually not only thinking about concert but theater as well. Because people cannot live without music and without art. So I like to be optimistic, and I'm trying to encourage all the students. It is worth it, and music is our world. Music is the greatest thing, and that's what keeps us going.
Thank you very much for pouring the energy and optimism.
Yeah.
It's so
Uh,
important today. Yep. Virginie, what's your
Yes, I think it's a very important moment, and I speak very much with my students, and I always ask them more than ever, why do they do what they do? Why do they play the music? And in which way they want to be a performer? What is their goal? What is their profound desire? I think it's a good moment to really ask ourselves why we play music and what music brings to the world. It's a question which brings a lot of deepness about why they do what they do, and I think it's actually really motivating because they take the time again to go back to the roots of the reason why they practice 5 or 6 hours a day. And actually it gives a lot of true desire to transmit music, to practice, to be surrounded by music. And I think somehow, even though now we cannot play out on stage, we are very privileged to be surrounded by music and to be musician. And we should never forget that, because we are surrounded by beauty. And more than ever today, we have to reinforce that important and students are a little bit shocked now, but it's a right moment, I think, to ask the true question.
Yeah, to get to the bottom of it, if the we are in this profession because that's what we really want to do, and that's a fundamental question, because artistic profession really needs to be a calling. It needs to be all of it: profession, the aspiration, the calling, the desire, and the ambition. All of those. If any of that is missing, maybe it's a good idea to reassess the deep fundamental reasons why we do what we do. I can't agree more with both of what you said. Um, but both of you are also ahead of many professional musicians in terms of how you embraced the technology in a way, because both of you recorded courses for an online learning platform. You created comprehensive courses for our Classical Academy, which is a step forward, to the side, branching out, however you want to call it, but it's a step which is somewhat different from traditional teaching in a classroom, one-on-one, in a physical, with a physical presence in the same room with a student. And one of the very hot and difficult topics which a lot of people embrace and tackle and struggle with at the moment, for majority of musicians, is this: can performing art be taught and learned effectively through online methods, through pre-recorded materials, or is that even possible at all? So what's your view on that?
Shall I?
Gyorgy, would you like to answer first? Take the
Yeah,
question first.
fine. So, as I mentioned first time, before, I've been doing this for about 8 months, non-stop, all the time, teaching online. Mostly, my students at the Royal Academy, and also I tried, and the Royal Academy is open. The school is open, and it's possible to go in and leave the lessons there as well. And I did try it, and I must say that they have done everything. The building is absolutely perfect, and the rooms are perfect. And as I'm just doing one-to-one lessons, so I don't see more people at the same time. But I still decided, that the situation became, especially in England now, quite serious. And I am not a youngster anymore, so I have to be even more careful. And I'm trying not to meet a younger generation. So, as I say, I've been doing it online. And as I say, it's not ideal. Absolutely not ideal, mainly because of the sound. I mean, we are for a musician, for me, it's always the sound quality, what is the most important thing. And online, unfortunately, the sound is not ideal. It's always a little distorted and it's not clear, but still much, much better than nothing. So I've been giving constant lessons throughout the last 8 months, and I must say that I find it more tired than the personal teaching, because you always want to say something, and you know that it's you can't talk to two people at the same time. But I find it that I'm able to tell them what I next to it, and even like for instance fingerings and phrasings and this is what we have, and I think we should continue with this until it's needed.
Yeah, keep going. Virginie, what's your response to this?
Yes, I agree totally with Gyorgy. It will never replace the sound, the real sound. It will never replace the human contact with the student, which is very important. Nevertheless, I think it's a fantastic tool right now because it's much better that than nothing. But it's like a second-hand possibilities. I would never choose it as a first main way of teaching. I really appreciated very much to work with iClassical Academy. I personally learned a lot to start to give classes this way. And I think it's a wonderful second way to teach, because a lot of students don't have sometimes the opportunity to travel, to go to Europe, to go to the States. For some countries, it's difficult. So I found it very important for the students to have this possibility. But it's not the main thing. It should not replace the main class with the teacher, of course. For me, it's very clear.
Wonderful. Let's see a few samples of the work which you did for iClassical Academy, and we'll, Gyorgy, since you are taking the questions first, we'll go with your a few segments first, and we'll come back with the comments after review.
What I would like to say, that knowing, how it should sound in a big hall, it's underplayed. You need a little more presence, the sound, even in the pianissimo. And why I saying it, I especially watched your bow. Too fast. Steady, the bow speed.
So this is the secret of how to express yourself even in a soft place, in a big hall.
I'm listening with the ear, knowing what in the last row in a concert hall. You can't hear it. It's not a question of loud or soft, but the sound should have a presence. La, la, la. And if it's even with the mute, try put it on the mute.
That is such a beautiful masterclass with so much detail in the sound. What a joy to watch.
What I was trying to explain, and I think the girl listened to immediately did it, that when you're standing on the stage, you have to project. Finally, I tell the student, imagine that there are 60 people behind you and 2,000 in front. So, and the important thing for a teacher to know when you are giving a class just in a small room, that you know how it would sound in a big hall. So most of my students have the soul, the way the soul has to play projection. That you have to, that the last row in a hall, they should hear exactly what's. And that's a question of, I suppose, making the arm a little heavier and a little more vibrato, warmer, and that's I think that the girl immediately understood.
Absolutely, and I love how you said it's not a matter of loud or soft. It's a yeah, it's a matter of presence.
Is the present and the projection, and that's what we had to do, and she did it very well, and
Yes,
very
she
often
did.
also I'm talking about phrasing and breathing, which is the most important thing. When we are talking or we are singing, we have to breathe, and we usually breathe at the right place. You take your breath when you have to, and it's valid exactly for the music as well.
Yeah,
So
it's a language of communication. Of course,
very
you don't
often,
want to breathe in between, in the middle of the phrase.
well, you have to breathe when at the end of a phrase, and it depends on the loudness or there's a forzato. So you take a bigger breath. So you think, wow, wow. And that's, I'm actually talking quite a lot about it. And usually the students don't know. They don't know it. They don't have this experience. But hopefully, they will.
Yeah, and through those recorded master classes which you did, people can watch and maybe watch again and understand even more in depth the details and the and what you mean when you say
Yeah, this
what
was
you
a
say.
very good example. I mean, I remember, of course, and this was a very gifted girl. I remember.
Let's watch one more example, and we'll come back with some more comments.
Lovely, thank you. Generally, I would like to warn you, when you sit in the audience in a big hall, you always say la, 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 always the long notes. So make sure that the repeat. So the repeated note, the short notes, articulate. Da, la, pa, da. So the long notes we will always hit. Yeah. Yeah. But sustain the sound. And vibrato. Lot of vibrato. Bravo.
This is excellent.
Yeah,
We'll
I quickly got up because I want to show you something.
oh please.
My students call me Mr. Sustain.
Aha. Sustain the sound.
Sustain the sound. So they gave me.
This is fabulous.
I am the Mr. Sustain, and that was a good example. Well, that's what you have. And very often, students are using too much bow. So this means that it's pulling. And this is what is important.
Sustain. I really hope a lot of people are watching because that's gonna stick for sure. Hard to forget.
We remember that I have this T-shirt, so they call me Mr. Sustain, and it's important, because when you are singing, you are sustaining the sound.
And you're supporting the sound too.
And the clarinet player, a singer, a clarinet, a piano sustains the sound. And the violinist very often doesn't because of the bow spring.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we have to explain. Yeah.
That's incredible, and I absolutely adore your accents. The articulation on the small notes, that's just so clear and so vibrant.
Yeah, it's too typically Hungarian, I know.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Russia, not as far from Hungary as some other countries.
Now, the trouble is, I was 20 years old when I left Hungary, and by that time, you cannot change your accent. I'm trying, and it's not too bad, but
Why would you even want to? It's beautiful. It's so energetic and powerful and
it's fine. Yeah,
invigorating. I love it. You know,
I have
there,
the temperament,
yes, you do.
and still have it.
Absolutely, can't hide it. Let's see one more example, and again, we'll come back with a few comments. I love that T-shirt.
That is nice.
Hold on. Thank you. Can I suggest? Start. Good. Attention here with the syncope. Stop the bow. Stop the bow.
My gosh, it's just such a joy.
This is syncope. That's again a kind of rule, when you play syncopation. Stop the bow and sustain the sound. And I always ask my students to play the Brahms D minor sonata, the last one. Very often, it comes very easily. It comes on the beat. So to avoid that, you have to sustain the sound and stop at the heel and at the hip. This is how you get the rhythm. And she understood it absolutely perfect. Yeah. This was real good solo playing, this girl. Yeah.
Yeah, and the difference she was able to make based on your suggestions, she clearly understood what you meant, and that just made her playing a whole level different.
Because what is important for a good teacher, not only to show, but to explain. You have to explain exactly what you want to say. It's not enough to look here. It's just showing you. It's not enough. You have to explain. And I've, over 30 years or so, I've been teaching, so I know how to explain.
Oh yes, you do. I'm a pianist, but I totally understand exactly what you mean. And I've been working with a violinist for many years. I know exactly how that makes the projection of the sound and the focus and the clarity of the speech.
The clarity, yes, that's so important. That when you change the bow, and you know what I find quite often, that students don't like to lift the bow. How important is between notes, especially if it is the same note, to lift the bow. Lam, pam, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
And of course, for that, you need to have a very, very good right hand and totally relaxed, that you should be able to lift the bow without any problem. Because very often the problem is that they are not comfortable with the bow.
Right.
Yeah.
They haven't mastered that refined technique of the bow technique yet.
You have to feel totally relaxed, and really you're holding the bow only with your finger.
But then again, working so hard on refining that technique, of course, is based on the desire. So they need to have the example, and they need to understand how much huge difference it makes. Then they would be motivated, because it's not easy to master the bow like your bow.
Well, that you should really learn when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
How to handle the bow and how to hold the violin. But it's just quickly I tell you that the biggest compliment I received on my playing career, when people came up to the artist and I said, "Mr. Pauk, you didn't know violin playing. It's so easy." And violin playing is difficult. So, but it looks easy and it looks sort of natural. Then that's the right way.
Yeah, that means you mastered it. Absolutely. Thank you so much for introducing that course. I'm really down to watching more of it because what you say applies across the board to other instrumentalists too. As a pianist, I want to speak clearly as well and lift my hand off the keys for that so that I have the command of the articulation. Let's bring in Virginia and Virginia, we would like to introduce your course as well, which is on an extremely important topic on stage fright and fear of the nervousness of getting on stage. And I, I dare say majority of beginning performers and a lot of experienced performers struggle with it. Let's just put it blank up front. It can be a challenge. So let's see maybe first segment of it, and then we'll come back and you will comment on it. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are here today to speak a very important subject, which is stage fear. I am in the Haute École de Musique de Lausanne in Switzerland. My name is Virginie Robilliard. I am a French violinist, soloist, and I'm teaching also in this prestigious institution. So there's different degrees of stage fear, and I have to speak very often with the students about this because somehow it's a very taboo subject. I think we don't speak enough about stage fear because we all have problems when we have to enter the stage with our nerves. Many artists have stage fear and they get nervous, and even the very famous artist also gets nervous, and it's absolutely natural. I think when we will not have any nerves before we are going to play, we probably have a problem. The fact that we get nervous is a good sign that we want to do it very well, that we want to give our best, that we want to express music. It's a sign that we want to give all the good energy to the music. It's a good sign. So the first question will be, why do we get nervous and what are we scared of?
That is an essential question. Why do we get nervous and what are we scared of?
Yeah. I think, first of all, now it's a little bit too strong, the word stage fright, because only just saying it, you get really frightened. I think stage fear is just fine, and now we can speak maybe about camera fear, because everyone has to play in front of a video, and for now, at least, we are not on stage anymore. Hopefully, it's going to go back. Why are we afraid of? What are we afraid of, and why are we afraid? I think. Of course, we are afraid to fail. We are afraid to make mistakes. We are afraid to not do it well. And I will do a very fast and quick link. We are afraid to not be loved. I mean, we are afraid that everyone is going to hate us, to say that we are not good, that we don't play good, etc., etc. So it means years and months and hours of practicing to perform and to do it well. And it's true that unfortunately a lot of students and then artists, they really get bothered by their nerves and they don't know how to manage it really. So I found out that everyone is afraid to say that he's afraid. That's the main problem. And if we can just start to speak about it and to be honest and just to say, yes, it's true, I'm a little bit afraid before I go on stage, then the fact to speak about it just lower the frequencies of nerves. And we are afraid to be weak. We are afraid to show that we are vulnerable, we are fragile. And that's why sometimes we don't say to anybody that we are afraid before we go on stage, because we don't want to show that we sometimes are fragility and weaknesses. I think that if we do not accept our weaknesses, if we do not accept our fears, then we are struggling twice more than if we just accept it. Fear is... Yeah,
that is such an interesting point. Yes. if we accept that we are afraid, that's a completely different starting point.
As much as you want to struggle against it and you say, no, I'm not afraid, I don't want to be afraid, I won't be afraid, then it becomes huge. Just be humble and accept that you have fear stage before you go on stage, accept that you feel weak, accept that you feel vulnerable, and it will be much more balanced. And actually, there are some stories about in long times ago about warriors when they will go to fight. They will take they will put themselves together with their sword, and they will put their sword symbolically out at the end of their. They will put their fear at the end of their sword, and they will just accept that they are very, very, how can you say that, scared, frightened to be killed, because we are going to play, they were going to war, so they might be killed. And the only fact to share it and to accept it, then the fear will take more its place. So I think that's one of the first steps. And another very important thing is to have positive thoughts then. Just once you accept it, it's not becoming so huge and so important. And then you can just say, okay, so now I've practiced. That's a very important question. I feel ready. I want to play this piece. I love this piece. I care about doing it well. Okay, so now you go and you give a lot of positive thoughts to yourselves, and you really mean it with the intention. The intention is very important. And we all have different stages of fears. Some of them are just positive fears, because actually to have your adrenaline going up, it's very important before you go on stage. If you enter the stage like you enter your living room, I think it's better you stay at home. The adrenaline that is necessary to give the best of yourself is a very good sign, actually. We just have to let it be naturally. Now, some people, they have too much fear, and that's where we have to find solution for that, and that's another subject.
That's right. That is just such an encouraging advice and so practical. I think it would work for anyone. For me, definitely what you're saying would work. Let's see our next segment, and then we'll come back with some more comments.
Do it with a little bit more seduction, the slides. Okay, now let's try something different, another version. You never seduce the same. You can do... It's a different one, okay? Or piano. More imagination, other things. Okay, good. This one, it's another color, more light.
Oh, that's so beautiful. With this version and that version, it just expresses completely different palette of emotions.
I do believe that, especially in Carmen, because we were with a very attractive and crazy and showpiece style. So this is the thing that I always try to encourage to students. There's creativity, imagination, to take the risk. We practice very hard, they practice very hard, and once they know the piece, then that's the moment really they have to be creative, and they have to play as if they don't know it, to take the risk. Otherwise, music is dead. if you just play notes and you try and you practice very hard, you play your notes very well, okay, so far so good. But people don't go to concerts and they did not fall in love with music because it was good and it was just perfect. It's that thing that it's so difficult to understand or to teach that makes people love music or want to play music. So I think it's very important when we start a piece to take the risk, like if we are improvising, like if we don't know the piece. So we are truly inspired at the moment of doing it. And of course, to do that, we have to have a very strong base and very solid technique and very solid preparation, of course. But the magic of music is really to take the risk. And we were in Carmen, and it was obvious that we had to find this kind of feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is very important. Yeah, you practice very well and a lot, and then to deliver that last 3%, which actually makes music alive, it needs to come alive, and that needs to be in the moment. That's what the nature of the improvisation is, being in the moment and performing it in that moment like never before.
Yes, I would say also that you can practice this in the sense of imagining that you are in the concert hall and that you're really playing in front of people, because when you are very ready technically, to put emotions comes to bother your technique, and then you start to do little things that you were not doing before because you become very emotional. So that actually, to bring emotion with the solidity of technique is something we can practice. We can practice really to be inspired and to take more risk on our basis of the technique. And then also to take the risk at the moment to play on stage and also the inspiration, which it's something that we cannot and should not practice.
Let's see one more example, and again we'll comment on that.
Okay, very good. Could we try one Sander without the tremolo? Just you play the chord. Okay, great. How do you feel when you play with these chords without tremolo?
It's more cantable. It's more
cantabile.
more piano maybe.
Yeah.
For the accord, for the harmony.
Okay, and the way you play it, you feel like it's a different theme, or it's the same theme, or
It's different.
it's different? Okay, what's the dynamic?
Piano.
Okay, so now let's do with the tremolo and really plays with what's happening when a tremolo is heard.
Okay.
Okay, good. What's happening when there's a tremolo? How do you feel? What's the difference? Can you
Something
play
is,
tremolos?
Something is happening.
Okay, frightening, yeah?
Frightening.
Agitato. We are not comfortable, so something is a little bit like scary. We don't know what's happening. So this thing, if you play... it's just beautiful, and it's beautiful. But with the tremolo... Okay, what did I change technically?
Vibrato.
Different, vibrato, faster. Okay, what did I change with the energy?
It's more agitato. Also.
Me.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay, you cannot just transmit by technique. If you have wonderful vibrato or rapido and you don't feel it, it's not worse. So both. Okay.
Okay.
incredible change that student was able to make after just a few comments from you.
Yes, we forget sometimes as a musician that we're like actors. Actors, they have the words, which helps very much. We don't have the words, but we have to act as if we know which character we are playing. The danger with the music score is that we can get hide. Just we play the notes and we hide with emotion and we play what's written and we play well because we practice a lot, but we don't really take or assume what kind of character we want to give. And that's very important. So from one artist to the other one, we might not agree exactly about the character or how to do it, which is fantastic because we should not play all the same, of course, that would be very boring. But we have to know, it's our responsibility to know how we want this phrase, how we're going to transmit, what's the message, and then how to do it. So of course vibrato, right hand, left hand, etc. But we have to make the intention with our real true energy. We cannot just with vibrato and bowings make it. No, it has to. We have to do it ourselves. So it's we should not hide behind the music score. It's very important, and that also for the students it forces them to really know the message of the music, what they are playing, why Brahms wrote this, why Grieg wrote that, and so we have to assume to transmit, to give a message.
Absolutely, it's an incredibly important message. Live the music, not just demonstrate it. That's what my teachers used to say. Make sure you're actually living every note you're expressing, not just showing the emotions.
Yes, exactly. And for that, we also have to nourish, I will say, our soul. We have to, we are not just robots. I was saying at the beginning that we are so privileged to be musicians. And actually, if we don't play on stage right now, just the fact that we can play, it's fantastic. We stay alive, we stay connected with beauty, we stay connected with progressing and asking ourselves how to do this phrase, how to find a better sound, etc., etc. So that we should never leave it on the side. It's fascinating because it's never the end. We never finish with that. I will still have questions on how to play Brahms concerto before I die, and that's very good this way.
Yeah, let's bring Gyorgy back to add your view on that. Are we still going to be talking about how to play Brahms concerto 100 years from now? What do you think?
That's for life. That's right. No, I just want to make comment what Virginie said. It was absolutely fascinating, and how this boy changed from one person to the other by cutting out first the piano part, and then he was a different player. And what I would add to it, that suddenly he started to play much slower bow, much more espressivo, slower bow, and long for what for me is absolutely vital. Long phrases, and it was very, very obvious, that it was very. And what another thing I would like to add to the stage fright, because I think it's important with students, is memory. That many students are not only students, I mean artists are afraid memory lapse at a concert. And for instance, I never had during my career. I was lucky enough, and I didn't have this problem. But a lot of people have memory problems. And what I would like, for instance, with my students, I'm actually insisting all the time that everything, even a sonata, and of course, especially in pieces and concertos, they have to play by heart. And not only that, they shouldn't even have the music in front of them. So very often they put in front of the music, and then they look at it. And I always explain, that on the stage there is no stand. There's no. It's, it's you have to get used to it. That it just fits in your mind. And I think the first thing is that technically, if you know that piece perfectly well, I mean, it's a mechanical thing to teach your fingers to play passages and the thing. If you know it perfectly well enough, then you can concentrate on the music, and then hopefully, you'll get immersed in the music, and this what gives you this inspiration and what is needed for performing with feeling and whatever,
For being the real artist.
yes,
Yeah.
artist, yes. Yeah. It's very difficult to explain what it is, when you go to a concert and you hear somebody, and after, let's say, 5 minutes, you listen, very good, and then you think to yourself, oh, what did I have for lunch? It's a bad sign. So it's something which is so difficult to explain what it is, but it keeps your mind and your concentration on that performance. It's very interesting for conductors. What is it what a great conductor does differently from an ordinary conductor? Very difficult to answer, but there is something magic. So perhaps it's on an instrument it's easier to express, but for a conductor, what is it? Not they beat the time the same, but then something with the eyes, with the whatever it is, which mesmerizes the musicians first, and then the musicians are then mesmerizing the audience. Well, it's a wonderful something. Wonderful.
Yeah, and it creates that energy, the presence of like experience which is shared by musicians.
Yeah.
It really truly is a manifestation of music being a language which connects, and it connects on a very deep emotional level.
Two conductors with whom I used to play quite a lot. Two great conductors, was Claudio Abbado and Bernard Haitink. Both of them, and just recently there was a wonderful program on Bernard on BBC Television. They don't know anything special, just beautifully attached of that, whatever the piece is. And yet the orchestra is giving their best. They are concentrating, and they are giving not only the best, better than what they are. So this is this magic what a conductor can produce. And these two and many others, of course, I played with. Nothing special, it's just beating the time, and there's magic. So what is it? But first, the orchestra has to be inspired, and it was always the magic that was doing this people. Yeah.
Yeah, the magic of love and focus and dedication. And it's very hard to describe it, explain. It is magic. Therefore, can't explain it. It's music. If we could explain everything, music probably would not exist. We would just go ahead and explain everything. Why would we bother spending lifetimes learning the art if there was a substitute for it? Before we finish our program today, I would like to ask you if you would share a message with our musical community. In this difficult time, it's just so encouraging to hear your speaking of music being so alive and so important. Would you like Gyorgy to go first and just address people who are watching and will be watching in days and weeks and months ahead?
Well, what I'm trying to say, what I said at the beginning, that I'm an optimist. Because otherwise, if I wouldn't be an optimist, I wouldn't be alive today, because I had a very difficult childhood. But I managed and I'm alive today. So what I would like to tell the students that these difficult times will be over. Will be over. There will be they will find the serum finally, and we will be able to sit next to each other, and even more important, to kiss each other, and be in the same room at the same time. And till this happens, music, we are musicians, we are born with a talent which is perhaps God-given. And this is what we should keep us alive, that there will be a time when we will be able to show, play again in big halls and with orchestras. And therefore, please keep on and practice and learn your new pieces. And especially what I would say that what I call my Bible, to play all the Bach sonatas and think about all the Bach wrote for violinist. That helps you a lot. So all the best and wishing you all the bright future.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of Bach sonatas. They really keep us alive.
They do.
Yeah. Virginie, would you please address our viewers and musicians all over the world?
Yes, I think it's a good moment to think deeply about why you are artist and what artist needs to bring to society. I think it's a good time for all the young students and artists to listen to this silence. We have more time, actually. We have less activity, and to take this time to feel how the music goes from this silence and from this deep moment where we can rethink a little bit the world we want to have and how to get out of this problem and what could be changed and what could be better after. So everything passes, everything goes. Maybe in 2, 3, 4 years we will remember things. It always has been like this with times. So let's take the opportunity now really to think which world we want after that, what we don't want to miss, what we want to do. And I would say that music needs us, music needs artists, music needs all these young students that are having problems right now. So just practice and feel happy with that vibration, fantastic vibration of the violin, of the music. Feed yourself of beauty. And as Gyorgy said, there will be better moments, I am sure. But then we should not forget that the world definitely needs artists, and maybe more now than ever. So we should be even more concentrated and devoted totally to our arts and to what we do. And take advantage of this moment that is a little bit quiet to practice more, to think more about what you want to do after. And I have a lot of faith and very optimistic about young generation, and I know they will know how to put the world ahead and to make it better. I don't doubt about this.
Thank you so much. And it's been an extraordinary, touching experience for me to host both of you, and a great honor, and to hear the wonderful comments. And thank you for your generosity and for being on our program. And I hope we'll see you again. I hope you'll find time and agree to join our programs in the future again.
Thank you very much for your invitation. Also, it's very important to be able to take this time to speak and to share our thinking during this moment.
And with this, I'm going to thank our viewers, our supporters, professional musicians, music students, music lovers, music managers, everyone who is working very hard in finding new ways, in preserving the old ways of making music, communicating through music, connecting with each other, with our audience, with our students. This is an important work the music community is doing right now. And I want to extend special thanks to the people who, on the back of this production, not seen on a screen, but nonetheless working very hard to bring these programs to fruition. These are also professional musicians who added additional skills to the long list of their professional skills as performers and educators, and now they're helping us produce these programs as engineers and production managers. Thank you all very much. Thank you for being with us, and we'll be back again. Bye for now.